People ask me all the time, who are some of the legendary people that you've had on your shows over the years? Well, this guy is one of them. He is a true broadcasting legend, still doing it, and he'll be in town in the next couple of days because Thursday Night Football on Amazon, the Eagles and Commanders, a monster game. He, of course, is the great Al Michaels. Hello, Al.
Mike, how are you? What are you doing working on your birthday, number one?
Oh, you know, in this business, Al, you just keep going.
I thought it was a national holiday.
It is. It is a national holiday, but I'm not so sure it's for me. But good to talk to you. How you doing?
Fine, all good. I'm really looking forward to this game because it's the third year of the Amazon package, and we've had some pretty good games in the past, but I think this is right at the top of the list right now. The way things have shaken out with the battle for the top spot in the NFC East, so I'm really looking forward to it. We don't get to Philadelphia very often because we were there last year, I think, for the Minnesota game, and the year before we had Philly and Houston. So it's only the second time we've been to the link in the Amazon package. So I'm really looking forward to it. Always love coming in there, and it should be one hell of a game.
Well, let's look at this game because you saw what the Eagles did on Sunday against a really hapless team right now, the Dallas Cowboys. And then the Commanders lose a heartbreaker. So as the dynamic comes into this game on Thursday, how do you see it?
Well, Philadelphia on a roll right now, obviously, and, you guys talk about it every day and know exactly what's going on there. So you started out 2-2, and everybody is crazy, and they want to get rid of the coach, and they want to get rid of everybody. And now all of a sudden, it's like John Madden, who I worked with for 7 years, and John would always say, the greatest deodorant is winning. And so the Eagles have done that right now, and at 7-2, everybody's pretty happy, I would assume, even though nobody's totally happy in any town. These days, everybody finds something.
Well, especially here.
Of course, to complain about. But you know what? A lot of towns, Mike, are like that. I know Philadelphia has that reputation of being, they're the worst or the loudest or the most upset, blah, 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 blah. I don't buy that necessarily. We get to a lot of towns, and they're kind of the same way. When the team is going south, people are starting to say, what's going on? We got to fire the coach. We have to fire the GM. Look, is it any worse in Philadelphia when things are bad than it is with Jets Nation right now? Nothing could be really worse than that. You bring in Rodgers, you think you have the best team, you fire the coach. Now you look at that team right now, and they're probably, the way it looks right now, dead in the water. So it's not just Philadelphia. And even in New England now, with all of the success that they've had, that's all you're hearing about, how terrible things are. Well, wait a second. You've had 2 decades of dominance. So it's almost like it's in the past, so it's not now, so we have to complain like crazy about it. But anyway, back to this game. Washington is one of the big surprises, obviously. I think they won, 4 games last year, cleaned house, brought Dan Quinn in. It turned out to be a good hire, brought Adam Peters in as the GM. Obviously, they selected what appears to be the right guy as quarterback, so he can go down the line in the future. And I like that team a lot. And yesterday they had every opportunity to win the game, but that's so NFL, and that's why we love the NFL, Mike, because you get games like that look like they're going to go one way, then another way, then they go back to the way they were going to be, and then it ends like that. And of all things, you've got a guy jumping offside at the end. Who knows if they would have won the game? If not, you just don't know. But I say that this is exactly why we love the NFL, because it's crazy, it's dramatic. You have these wild endings, and that's what people talk about the next day.
Well, Al, I'm going to try to get an outsider's opinion of this crazy mindset in Philadelphia, because what we saw in the first part of the game yesterday against Dallas was that Jalen Hurts got off to a bad start, and people just come flying at him. Now, the 2 most important entities coming into this season were the head coach, who had lost 6 of his last 7 games, and we didn't know whether he was going to be back, but they brought him back, and the quarterback. Both were judged harshly, and they're still being judged harshly. The Eagles are 7-2 now, and both of these gentlemen are being judged harshly in this town. Can you explain that as somebody who's not within Philadelphia but outside, looking in?
Well, I think there are probably a lot of folks there who want to live up to their reputation, right? Who, hey, we're Philadelphia, so we have to really be constantly pissed off. So we're going to complain like crazy. That might have something to do with it. I don't know. But, I mean, to me, Mike, I mean, there's such this. We have 330 million people in this country. And if 10 people are on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok ripping somebody, it's not a groundswell. It's like people who just want to be heard. They have access to the Internet. I mean, years ago, I think what it amounted to is that people didn't have this kind of access. You didn't have the Internet. You didn't have talk radio the way it is right now, the way it's versioned, in the 21st century. So I think there are more outlets for people to moan and groan and bitch about things than there used to be. So I go back to...
But this also goes, like national pundits, let's just take Sirianni, who got off to a rocky start with jawing with the fans and, the whole bit, and people were, this guy again, and is he worthy, and blah, 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 and national people were taking him apart as an inadequate coach. Is that just hot take? This is where we come, or is there any legitimacy to that?
Of course it's a hot take. I see pundits, whatever you want to call them, who haven't been in the locker room, have no access to a team. Look, when you have access to a team, when you're inside, those are the people I pay attention to. They are there. They are there. But you see these shows now where people are just screaming at each other just to scream at each other. I was told, many years ago that, I guess it was at ESPN, somebody said to me, okay, we have to debate whether Marino was a better quarterback than Elway. And one guy said, well, I think Elway was the better quarterback. And the other guy said, oh, well, I think Elway's the better quarterback. And then the producer says, oh, no. One guy's got to take Marino. So in other words, this is not real stuff. This is like, it's what I call junk talk. So you go back and forth, and you really don't go anywhere. And when I have to listen to people who are not close to teams, who just see things from the outside, who are basing it on what they read and what some of the analytics have to say about it, I'm going, excuse me, I got better things to do with my life.
On that note, Al, this is great that you led me into this, because you have always been the real guy, right? And the industry has shifted another way. And there have been times when you've been criticized for not being excited enough or whatever. You've been consistently stoic because that's what you are. So, what is your reaction? And I remember you saying, well, what do you want me to do, yell? That's not you. What's your reaction to all that comes out? Like, when you have to be this guy or that guy?
Well, I've done the NFL for 39 years. I've been in the business for 55 years. It's been a pretty good run for me. So apparently, I must appeal to enough people to have been able to sustain and keep a job doing the NFL, which is the creme de la creme. Look, there are a number of people, I get it, who want you to scream and yell and be guttural and holler. That ain't me. It's not me. It's not Jim Nance. It's not Joe Buck. It's not the guys who've been at the top all of these years. Because if you did, they wouldn't be there very long. So, look, when I was younger, and I got very excited about certain things because you get into the business, and that was probably the way to do it. But, Mike, it's television. People can see it. You don't have to scream and yell and say what they are seeing. It's a visual medium. So to me, I've always believed in less is more. You need ellipses and captions sometimes suffice. And some of the calls that I think I'm proudest of, I didn't yell or scream. I just set it up for you. It happened. Might have a coda that I can attach to the end of it and let it go. And I know Joe and Jim, and we've talked about this, they're the same way. And there's a reason that those guys have been around for like 20 years. Joe and Jim and I have done almost all Super Bowls in the 21st century. Got Kevin Burkhardt's in there. I think Kevin is really great, does a terrific job on Fox. He's kind of the same way. We don't yell the game at you. We just don't. That's the way it is. And a lot of, what they're looking for right now is for YouTube to go, oh, did you hear the way this guy called the game? And you see, college games for, junior colleges in Kansas, and the guy goes out of his mind, and everybody says, oh, that's fun, that's great. But you know, if you did that on national television, you'd be looking for a job next week.
Yeah, I gotcha. Here's another thing that I love about
Tell me what you think about it.
No, I totally agree with you. I've always been a fan of your pace more than anybody else. And, you know, I'm an older school guy, I guess. But, no, I totally get it. You have to be yourself. And listen, you have such a background. Like, you did baseball. And so you had developed a pace, more of a calm pace. It's part of you as a broadcaster. So I totally admire that. And I also admire the fact that you're honest. And, like, if it's a bad game, you'll say it's a bad game on a Thursday night. If it's a bad official's call, right, can we play? I love this about you. You were not afraid to rip the officials in a blatant, because everybody's thinking the same thing. And here was you.
Too many games end this way. They just do. Yep. You miss calls, the whole thing. It's so frustrating to the fans. So frustrating.
This is what people are thinking. In front of you don't want to see games end like that where the officials have that kind of sway. Right? I mean, you're just being honest with it. And I think that connects.
I think that's what the fans are thinking. Look, I love the game. I love the NFL. I love football. And I'm as frustrated as any fan is when we have a game that ends that way, a fantastic game in Baltimore the other night. And now you're going for a 2-point conversion, and it's unsuccessful, and you have two replays, that are obvious fouls that could have been called. And Terry McCauley even comes in, who refed in 3 Super Bowls, and is our officiating guy, and he's back in Stamford, Connecticut, but he's got 15 different angles of every play. He's in touch with New York when it comes to the replay process. Even he said it could have been called. It should have been called. We see this a lot. You know, look, as far as the officials are concerned, I think on balance they really do a terrific job because it's a very hard game to officiate. And every fan should have the opportunity to watch a game from the sideline, from outside like the 40, and watch all of these gigantic bodies going this way and that way and back and forth, and you tell me that you could call every penalty. First of all, as we know, there's probably a penalty on every play. But where do you go? What do you call? What don't you call? And you get to the end of the game, and the officials know, hey, kind of let it go if you can. You don't want to ruin it unless it's egregious. So you miss a couple of calls, but still, and here's the thing, though, Mike. I wish I had the answer. I wish I knew somebody who had the answer to this. I don't know what the answer is. This will continue to happen. It is a very, very difficult game to officiate, probably the hardest. So on one hand, we're frustrated. On the other hand, I get what's happening. And when somebody can come up with the answer to this thing, call me collect.
All right, so Al, you're coming into Philly when the weather's kind of warm. I know you have affection for Philadelphia golf. In fact, my partner Bill's wearing a Marion pullover today. Are you going to be tempted to get out to Marion?
No, I wish I could, but these days, between our meetings and everything else that's going on, and just preparing for the game, if you want to go play golf when you're in a town, it's a 6-hour thing. An hour beforehand, 4 hours of golf, and whatever. I don't have the time. I wish I did.
November and the weather's nice, Al.
I understand.
Maybe 9 holes.
No, I can't. You know what? Because it's just it's one of the great things that I used to do there is when Tim McCarver, I loved him, was my partner on baseball for many years, and Timmy lived there. And I played Marion 2 or 3 times with McCarver. This was back in when we were doing Monday Night Baseball, and I had a blast. And I'll never forget, the overhead showers there are the greatest of all time.
Oh, the water pressure's phenomenal.
Number one, off the charts. Yeah. I loved it.
Al, listen, it's always a pleasure, and we'll look forward to Thursday night. You coming and giving the Philly team a little love here, but you got a good quarterback matchup with Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. So
going to be terrific. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Al.
Take care,
he is, the great Al Michaels joining us.
A legend.
He's a legend.